The kind of glassy surface that turns the sky into a second world beneath your feet. My boat drifted near the dock, its hull barely touching the mirrored water. A blue heron stood on the far bank like a statue. Even the breeze seemed to hold its breath. Then the envelope ruined everything. It was taped to my dock post in bright orange plastic, like a warning on a crime scene. At the top in bold black letters, "Notice of violation. Immediate action required." I sighed. Another HOA complaint. I didn't even open it right away. Living next to the Willow Creek Estates Homeowners Association meant receiving a steady stream of grievances. Grass too long, dock, visually intrusive, boat color, not consistent with community aesthetic. But this one felt theatrical. I tore it open. "Your vessel has been observed creating excessive ripples that disrupt the visual harmony of Willow Creek Lake. You are hereby instructed to relocate your boat to an approved marina within 48 hours. I blinked once, then twice. Ripples. They wanted me to move my boat, for ripples. I laughed out loud, a real, helpless laugh that echoed across the water. Because there was one tiny detail the HOA didn't know. I owned the lake, not metaphorically, not partially, not historically, legally, entirely. Recorded in county documents since 1987. When my grandfather purchased the surrounding acreage long before Willow Creek Estates even existed. But HOAs don't like facts. They like authority, and they were about to learn the difference. 3 days later, a black SUV rolled up my gravel drive. Out stepped Melissa Crandall, HOA president, self-appointed guardian of order, and the kind of woman who smiled only when delivering bad news. She wore a clipboard like a badge of office. "Mr. Harris," she called before reaching the porch. "You have failed to comply with a direct HOA directive." I leaned against the railing, coffee in hand. "Morning to you too." She walked straight to the dock, heels clicking like a metronome of irritation. "That vessel must be removed immediately." "It's not moving." Her lips tightened. "You are causing disturbances to community property." I took a slow sip of coffee. "Community property." She pointed dramatically at the lake. "This lake." That was the moment I realized something important. She genuinely believed it. This wasn't bluffing. This wasn't posturing. The HOA truly thought they owned the water. I almost felt bad. Almost. "You might want to check the county registry," I said. She gave a sharp laugh. "We have. Willow Creek Estates maintains full jurisdiction over lake use. Maintenance rights," I corrected. "Not ownership." Her expression hardened. "If the boat is not removed, the association will take enforcement action." "And what would that be?" She smiled. The cold, satisfied smile of someone who enjoys escalation. "We will relocate it ourselves." I nodded slowly. "Please do." They came at sunrise 2 days later. 3 HOA maintenance workers. 1 rented tow barge. 1 extremely official-looking clipboard. I watched from my porch without interrupting. There's something educational about letting people commit their own mistakes. They tied cables around my boat with careful confidence. One of them waved at me like we were neighbors sharing a pleasant morning. Then they began towing it toward the public marina across the cove. That was when I called my attorney. And then the county sheriff. And then the Environmental Protection Office. Because if someone trespasses on your lake, your privately owned body of water, with unauthorized equipment and mechanical vessels, that's not an HOA matter. That's a legal event. By mid-morning, the shoreline looked like a festival of authority. Sheriff vehicles, county officials, environmental inspectors, and one increasingly pale HOA president. Melissa approached me as if walking through invisible resistance. "You called law enforcement." I tilted my head. "You trespassed." Her voice dropped to a hiss. "This lake belongs to the community." I handed her a folder. Inside were certified copies of the deed, survey maps, and water rights documentation dating back nearly 40 years. She flipped through the pages faster with each document. This must be outdated. Recorded last year during property transfer." She stared at the lake. Not with pride this time, but confusion. Like someone discovering their living room belonged to a stranger. "You mean, every homeowner has been enjoying private access by my family's permission?" Silence spread wider than the water. Then the sheriff approached. "Ma'am, we'll need a statement regarding unauthorized equipment use and trespass." Her composure cracked visibly. "This is a misunderstanding." He nodded politely. That's why we're documenting it. The real turning point came that afternoon. Because trespass wasn't the only issue. The tow barge they used had leaked hydraulic fluid into the water. Not a lot, but enough for environmental officers to take samples. And environmental fines are not friendly, especially when contamination occurs on privately owned natural water. By sunset, the HOA board requested an emergency meeting. They invited me to attend. I accepted. The Willow Creek clubhouse had never been so quiet. Usually the place buzzed with polite small talk and passive-aggressive smiles. Tonight it felt like a courtroom. Melissa stood at the front table, papers stacked like defensive walls. "Mr. Harris," she began, voice carefully measured, "the association wishes to resolve this matter amicably." I nodded. "That sounds wise." She clasped her hands. "We were unaware of your ownership claim." "Ownership fact." A pause. "Yes, ownership fact." Board members shifted in their seats. I placed a document on the table. A formal notice. Melissa hesitated before reading aloud. "Unauthorized access of private lake property, mechanical disturbance of protected shoreline, contamination incident, repeated trespass." Her voice weakened with each line. Then she reached the last page. "Proposed penalties." The room went very still. I had calculated everything according to county code, conservative estimates, documented damages, legal maximums. The total fine exceeded the HOA's annual operating budget. No one spoke for nearly 30 seconds. Finally, an older board member cleared his throat. "Surely, there's room for negotiation." I leaned back. "There is." Every eye fixed on me. "Permanent access easement," I said. "Written acknowledgement of lake ownership. Public apology. And the HOA funds shoreline restoration." Melissa swallowed hard. "And the fines, reduced upon compliance." Another long silence. Power doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it just waits until everyone notices where the authority actually lives. 3 weeks later, the sign went up at the lake entrance. "Private lake. Access by permission. No unauthorized watercraft." Beneath it, a smaller plaque installed by Willow Creek Estates. "We thank the Harris family for continued stewardship of the lake." Funny how language changes when reality becomes unavoidable. My boat never moved, not an inch, and the ripples, still there. But something else changed too. Neighbors started waving again, not the cautious HOA-approved wave, a real one. Some even stopped by to ask about fishing permits or shoreline projects. Turns out, people prefer cooperation to control when they understand the truth. As for Melissa, she resigned before the next election. Last I heard, she moved to a community with no lake at all. Probably safer that way. Some mornings I sit on the dock before sunrise and watch the water settle into its mirror state. Perfect, undisturbed. Then a gentle ripple spreads from the boat hull, widening slowly across the surface. A small motion, a visible effect, proof that presence matters. Funny thing about ripples, you can't stop them by force. You can only understand what created them in the first place. And sometimes, the person making waves owns the water.